All right, welcome to the mover and shaker course. One of my favorite things to work on is how to move off the ball. We're working in fast break scenario first in our situational skills this week. Really looking at running wide until we're past the half court line and then deciding if we're angling in toward the basket if we have an advantage in an empty rim, or staying out in the corner with space and allowing our ball handler to kick it to us. And then kind of a counter move to that, if we've got good defense back, dribbling at that corner shooter. If they're ahead of the ball handler dribbling toward them, getting them to back cut down the baseline, often a good way to counteract an overplay defender that's guarding that shooter. And then we're working in different scenario with the guy trailing behind the ball and really reading off of the ball handler to make a rim run straight down the paint opposite side to create space away from the ball, or trailing into a shot if that ball handler turns around, pitches it back, being prepared to step in, catch and shoot. Next up is one of the simplest actions we're going to do, but we try to build in a lot of really specific details in this. Starting with a pass off the dribble, we're working the hands a little bit to be able to dribble it, pass it all in one hand. And then face cut, we like to do a juke step, faking away from the pass and cutting back toward the ball side, the face side, between our defender's face and the ball, what we call a face cut. And then the counter move is what we call a swim cut, more common in the world of football. If you're a football player, you might be familiar with it, or even a football fan, you'll see a lot of football players use this to get through traffic. We're going to do the same juke step away from the pass, and then when our defender fights us for the face cut space where we want to go and where they're trying to stop us, our counter move is to swim our arms and kind of step through them. So when they're stepping away from the basket, trying to step into our path and cut us off for our face cut, we use that momentum against them and counter move, step through. And we're also running to the weak side of the rim with this. So really a direction change to put that defender behind us and catch a pass coming over the top. Next up is our space cut, really going away from the basket and away from the ball. So what we call halo, being under the basket as if the basket were a halo, cutting toward the perimeter. And here we're using step back footwork, a little different than what most people think of as a step back. Typically, that term is used for a dribble move. We're working on the catch here to step back, be able to catch and shoot with balance, running straight away from the basket, and then being able to counter move by ripping through and taking that into a drive. Really effective cut to have. If you can really be a threat to score on your space cut, you're going to have a lot more opportunities to attack the basket because that defender has to run with you to stop you. Then we're connecting all the dots here. After we've done a basket cut and a space cut, the fill cut is coming back toward the ball. So you can think about this as a triangle shape. We cut straight to the basket. We cut down the baseline to the corner space. And now we're filling back from the corner toward the top of the key, what we call a fill cut or a ball cut. We'd like to work on the destinations that we're moving toward, the basket, space, or toward the ball. Next, probably the number one concept that we're going to be working on with you throughout the 4 weeks of our mover and shaker is the drive and kick circle. In its simplest form, we're demonstrating here on the half circle at the free throw line. If the ball is moving to the right and the shooter wants to stay away from the ball and away from the defense that's guarding the ball, the shooter moves to the right. And if the driver moves to the left, the shooter moves to the left. We just think about that as expanding that small circle out to the 3-point line as a bigger circle. And the same rule applies. If the drive goes right, the shooter goes right, filling behind or moving ahead based on where they are positioned on the court. And if the drive goes left, the shooter goes left. It's kind of a magical simplicity of a concept that works really incredibly well against even really good defensive teams. If they are effectively playing team defense to stop a drive from getting a layup, then there's going to be shooters open. And the more predictably those shooters are moving where the passer knows to find them and the shooter knows they're open, the more and better quality of shots you're going to get as that perimeter mover and shaker, shooter of wide open shots on the drive and kick. that's it for week one. We'll see you on the court.